Good morning, everyone. I am Jamila Laurie of My Biz Consulting, and today we are here with an exclusive interview talking a little bit about a trending question that I constantly get at My Biz Consulting. 5 big reasons you need a trademark right now. Super important. Totally understand, but I can't answer all of your questions. So here we are with the podcast and our consultant live on the line where we can answer these questions for you. I hope this helps. Feel free to give us a call. We will be on the line, and I'll also be pulling up a chat. You can give us a call directly at 914-205-5389 if you have any questions during this segment. Right now, I'm not going to waste too much time. We got about an hour, and we want to get right to it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the line Brian Wood. Brian Wood is our consultant, our trademark consultant, who will be able to answer questions simply like, do you need a trademark for your business? What is a trademark anyway, and why do I need it? So, again, I'm going to go ahead and bring Brian on the line and let him do the rest of the talking. I'll interject a little bit, but again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 914-205-5389, and I'll be more than happy to bring you on the line and ask your question. Let's go ahead and bring Brian on. Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
Good morning, Jamila. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Great to have you. So, like I said, this is a great conversation. We're super happy to have you on the show. And we want to really just kind of jump in. Again, like I mentioned to you, we're getting a lot of trending questions about trademarks, and I wanted to start with maybe an introduction, a little bit about, your experience and really what is a trademark? Because I think that's one of the things, new business owners get into and just don't have the answers to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a great place to start. So our company's been around for 19 years. I've been personally with the company for years this week, believe it or not, is my anniversary. So I'm
happy anniversary.
Thank you so much. And so really the misconception in terms of what a trademark is and what it does for people, if it's necessary, is certainly comes up on our end as well. And so, as far as a trademark and what it is, what can be trademarked? A word trademark is certainly something that people do pursue. A word trademark can encompass whether it be the name of a product, the name of the company itself, which I'll certainly expand upon further, later in the call here, and then also a design mark, which could actually have words or verbiage in it, right? The same words or verbiage that a person may trademark just for the name of the company or the product as well. So those actually do different things in terms of brand protection. And most of our customers, I would say over 90%, have both a word and a design or a logo trademark. And so that makes it very comprehensive, I know, but also people do trademark a slogan or a tagline, right? Like Nike's Just Do It, for example.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big trademarks that a lot of people are kind of talking about right now when it comes down to trademark.
Absolutely. And so I think to answer some of the questions that we have here, does a small business need a trademark? Absolutely. If they're going to be doing business nationwide or perhaps globally, which, as we both would agree, it's a global economy and marketplace anymore, right? So that's why it's important to protect your brand outside of your own, city or state. And and we have a lot of Amazon e-commerce people that we do help them trademark their brand, and actually it's required for Amazon as well. So that makes it another important reason to do so. Now, the USPTO, just as an interesting note, they are running a little bit behind because they're so busy these days
Right.
And people have really begun to start their own businesses, even since the beginning of 2020, when things started shutting down. The economy started growing on the small business front, with people starting their own businesses. So that's great to see. And
Absolutely.
we're certainly able to help them expand and protect their businesses in that way. The one thing people don't necessarily want to have happen, getting back to the name of the company, is a trademark protects their name in a certain space, right? And so whether it be electronics or apparel or perhaps even a podcast, as we're on right now. So those are the ways that we can help a person protect it. And you don't necessarily want somebody to, what I say, muddying up your brand, in another state, for example. So that's why somebody would go ahead and protect the name of their company as well as perhaps their product or service.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Now, when we talk about branding, and like I mentioned before, I know a lot of musicians, and this has become really big in that community where we get, they want to trademark their name because their name usually turns into a brand from there. How, could you get a little more into how that works for musicians?
Absolutely. And that's a great niche. We do help people protect whether they're perhaps just a musical artist, and they could be doing live performances, or perhaps they could be doing downloadable recordings, which is another thing that we help people protect with. As far as artists, they could be a producer as well, right? So that's yet another way that we're able to help them protect their brand in that space. So there's a few different ways we can help. The USPTO is a bit, those can be a bit tricky sometimes, because they're looking for not necessarily just a one song, but perhaps an album or a longevity. But those are things that we could certainly help people, start carving out a niche and protecting their brand. And a lot of monikers, right? When an artist has a name that they sing and people know them by, right? And that's important to protect that moniker. So we can certainly help them there. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's important, even the verbiage of protecting your moniker. I think that's something that a lot of artists aren't familiar with. They don't usually hear, so they don't even know where to start when it comes down to looking for, getting their name protected. Another niche that I wanted to tap into while I have your attention here, is the clothing industry. A lot of people are now launching their own clothing brand. And I wanted to just kind of touch on how important it is for that logo, even if we can talk a little bit more in depth about the changing of the logo. So it may just be the name itself, but then the actual physical logo of it. And, they kind of print both on like T-shirts, things like that. How would that work?
Sure. And actually, Jamila, this is actually one of the biggest categories for us anymore, would be the apparel category. And that could be hats, hoodies, T-shirts, the whole 9 yards, even down to footwear, believe it or not. So we can help people protect that logo, which is, considered to be the face of the company. And then the word as well, which may be used independently of the design. And so that's why some people would trademark both. And with that design, sometimes they may actually have it where they want it to be in different colors, right? So we can help them do that too, versus just being locked into one color scheme.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the issues that a lot of new clothing designers are facing when it comes down to, I want to do different colors. I don't just want to stick to this. Just how to go about it. Do I have to copyright or trademark every single one? So it's a lot of questions that a lot of people have out here when it comes down to that.
Right. So, we do actually copyright items as well, which we could perhaps have another podcast just dealing with that.
Absolutely. We will revisit that soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you do raise a good point that copyrights can protect just the design, but wouldn't protect it in that space. So it's
exactly.
A little bit different, but we can certainly help there as well.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to jump into, you mentioned protecting your brand. So, what I face when I'm dealing with clients is another tough question for me to, really answer. So when we say protect your brand, what does that mean to someone who just found out that they need a trademark or what a trademark really is? What does it mean when we say protect your brand?
Sure. And so people do trademark their brand at different stages of the process. We do get people that trademark it before they've even put it out there, and that's I would say that's a majority of the people, and that's probably the smartest, right? Because you don't necessarily want to put it out there unprotected either. Right. But we do get people that say, after a year or two, I'm starting to pick up some momentum and doing well for myself, and that's when other companies notice that and tend to pick off your brand sometimes, right? So you certainly want to move on that and get in there before somebody else does. That would be, important, since it takes about a year to get a trademark, up to a year. To get the process started as yesterday would probably be wise to do. And, once a common question that we actually get is, can I start using the trademark once I've filed? And you get a serial number, which we can actually do for the customer within a few days, believe it or not. And so, yes, you can, even if it's intent to use, we can actually file that trademark, get that serial number, and they can start establishing use even at that point, which, would have to be shown or proven eventually anyhow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that would be helpful for a lot of business owners who are just getting started, who really know, I'm ready to put my stuff out, but I want to make sure that I'm protected in the long run. So my next question, so we say, okay, it helps your brand succeed. Now, and I know from my standpoint here, it's about branding and marketing. That's what I do. And this is where, why you and I kind of connected here. But could you talk a little bit about how a trademark will help a brand actually succeed?
Sure. Well, and I think that, we're going to perhaps bridge a couple questions here, but let's go ahead. We sometimes have people in either the CBD space, which is popular anymore, or the, let's say, cosmetics, right? So starting a cosmetic line or CBD, that's very popular as well as the apparel that we mentioned. And a lot of times with packaging, so if a person has the item made, the CBD product, or it could be a cream or a salve or oil, right? They need some packaging. So a lot of times these companies that do the packaging for them would require a deposit of sometimes $4,000 or $5,000. You're not going to just be able to place an order for, $1,000, right?
Right.
So that's sometimes very costly up front. So that's why it would be important to know that you can actually have that trademark or use that brand before you put that kind of money out there. Right. And so we've seen the opposite. We've seen people that have already gone down that road without, securing their brand first, and then as a result later, Right. And so that's always something we like to catch it earlier as opposed to later. I think that one other thing that we didn't mention is that sometimes people tend to get their LLC or business formation before the trademark. What I wanted to say here is that we can actually run a comprehensive search, which our searches are phenomenal, and we can run that search and pursue the trademark even before that point. Because if they get the LLC and then can't get the trademark, again, you're kind of working against yourself or taking one step forward and two steps back, right?
Right, right.
So that's the kind of thing that we can help people with initially. Sometimes that's a great place to start.
Absolutely.
When a person is getting started. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's definitely great information and good to know. So another thing, we have, I'm going to say this is a combined question. When we talked a little bit about protection. We talked about the brand. And I know I don't want to jump in getting into too many legal things and protections, but, just if we can just kind of mosey on over that conversation just a tad bit to, I think a lot of people also don't understand the legal protection that they have once they have a trademark. So if we can, I know that would be more one-on-one with them, but, how does it legally protect a company or, a brand? How would a trademark work for them?
Of course. So once it's registered, which is a process, as we know, that's when they can actually enforce their trademark and, perhaps get others for infringement. What we can do is we do in some popular packages that we have is a website takedown. If an individual or a customer notices that their trademark, once they're registered, that it is using their trademark in the same space and in that way online, then we can provide them with that service as far as a website takedown or social media takedown, which may be something on, say, Instagram or what have you, right? So that's another way we can help customers enforce their brands, because then at the end of the day, a person might ask themselves, why do I need to trademark in the first place if I cannot enforce it, right? And so that's protecting the brand, and that's something that we do all the time for individuals. But yeah, you need to be registered first in order for us to be able to do that. So that's why it's important to get started as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And I think that, having that brand, even on the side of marketing, just putting it out there, as you mentioned, social media networks. Again, we also have websites where a lot of people don't realize this is something that should be included with your website. If you're getting a website built, you should include this, your copyrights. We need to make sure that your information is all, set and clear when it comes down to building that website up and things like that. So that's a huge, huge topic, that I discuss with my clients when they come in. This is why it's important to get get all of your ducks in a row before launching your business. Brian, can I ask you to kind of just talk a little bit about the, just lightly, I know I'm going to dig in here, but just process. I think, people kind of do a lot of research now that we're in a Google world where people can kind of look for information on their own. And what have you ran into in scopes of people trying to get started and do this themselves, but, kind of running into that brick wall?
Excellent question. Excellent. So we do help quite a few people from not only other companies or even filing themselves, down the road. We can help them. What sets us apart from other companies out there or even an individual trying it themselves is that we have a proprietary software. We're not a law firm, mind you, but we can do a lot of important things because we use proprietary software. Now, the software actually informs a customer in real time if there's an office action response, some additional information that's required, if you will, and they will be notified via email. And we'll also call them on the phone. A representative from our company will be calling them in order to discuss what's needed and how we can help them overcome that. And we see a lot of people, perhaps with even the same recurring issues in their trademark application that have filed it themselves, getting back to your point, that we can help them with and help them resolve. So those issues could be a bit minor, like procedural issues, or perhaps a bit more complicated, like a substantive issue which may be a potentially blocking mark or merely descriptive or something along those lines. But we can help with all those things using our proprietary software that can, and actually is a fraction of the cost of what an IP attorney would charge them. Because, and really that's the bottom line is our slogan is actually legal services made easy. Even though we're a filing firm and not a law firm, but we use the proprietary software written by a trademark attorney. And so that's why we're able to assist in this way, in the important ways, everything that's needed in order to get to the finish line, right? Which is the goal, which is registration.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about time. I don't like to create false expectations with people. So I'm going to use this as my reference. But I know it's kind of different for everyone. But I know, and we said they're taking a long time right now due to the amount of businesses that's been started. So speaking in terms of time, like what would we say, far as when someone comes in, they're excited, they're ready to start their business. And I know, you mentioned we can, say, it's been filed. Here's a number within a few days. But what would you say on average for a company where things go smoothly, which we know is not always the case, but what would you say the time it takes?
The best case scenario. So before 2020, we were seeing that trademarks were getting registered many times, within 7 to 8 months. But now we're seeing that, and it's also posted on the USPTO website, that it could be a bit longer. It could be 11 to 12 months. Okay. If it's very smooth and, it could possibly, fall somewhere in between those time frames.
Right.
And that's very possible. But, I would just say that, I know that we're a microwave society, Jamila, and we like to have things yesterday. We get that too. But I think the bottom line and what somebody has to remember or keep in their sights is that once we get that serial number, you can start using the trademark. Our comprehensive search, which we generally run for most people, will be able to look at, what's like a crystal ball, if you will, what's in the pathway to registration before we get to that point. And then we can actually, even before we file it, just to back up a little bit, we can actually allow the customer to modify that trademark somewhat based on those search results, right? Those comprehensive search results before we do the filing, which I think is a great, a great benefit for them to be able to do that.
So that's one of the questions that just came in here on my end. Why would I, get a comprehensive search? I think, and for this particular customer, I know that one of the questions was like, do I need to get the search? I know I made this up. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience in dealing with, people, a lot of times we think that we are the first to create something or come up with it. Could you talk a little bit about that and how beneficial that search is?
Sure. So I believe that, going along the lines of the person that just asked the question, some people think, well, why would I have to pay for a comprehensive search when I can do a search on my own, whether it be Google or perhaps even at the USPTO itself? Well, again, going back to, we've been in business, the head of operations, our operations team has actually been here for 10 years. So, we actually have a solid track record of great searches, comprehensive searches. A person going in blind without a search at all is not recommended, but a person could do that. We can do that for them. But let's be honest, it could cost them a whole lot more money than if they had done that comprehensive search on the front end.
Exactly.
And so it's really kind of doing your due diligence up front. And we're not just looking at potentially blocking marks. We're looking at, if it's, possibly, again, using that proprietary software that we discussed, if it's merely descriptive, meaning the trademark does what it says it's going, based on the services, the goods and services, what it's going to do. Okay. That is actually something else we search in that comprehensive, and that could be a potentially a substantive office action. So we want to know those things up front a lot of times, and that's just a good way to go about it, to not go in blind. And just like, you wouldn't necessarily drive at night without your headlights on, right? You want to see what's ahead of you.
Exactly. So we have another question come in. What would they need to actually, what kind of information would we need to get started on filing for a trademark for both a logo and for the name?
Okay. And so I guess that does depend on the situation, if it's in use or not in use. Certainly if it's in use, it's a bit more comprehensive, right? Because we need to show examples of use. And many times people provide a screenshot, which we explain once we talk to the customer as well over the phone. We'll be able to go into those things. And it would need to show a correlation between the trademark, whether it be a word or design, in direct association with that goods and service that they want to protect it under, right? So, it could be more than one class, perhaps, as far as goods and services. Those are the kind of things that we'll also kind of go over. We'll be able to talk to the customer directly,
right?
And and be able to hash those things out. But as far as what they're going to need with a design, let's take it there first. With a design, it's a little different from the word, because they're going to have to need, a description of the design itself. Just like if you were explaining the design, Jamila, to me, I couldn't see your design, but you wanted to explain it in a sentence or two. If it has a sunburst here or what have you, right? And so that's what is needed for the application for a logo. The logo could have words, as I mentioned, in it. It doesn't always have to, but the first date of use, it could be the first date of use, ever, or the first date of commercial use is really what they want to drill down on at the USPTO.
Okay.
And so I think another important point, and thank you for the great question from the person that asked it, is that we can actually file under the individual's name. And I think tying in with what I mentioned before, as far as doing that before the LLC, we can assign the trademark to the business, whether it be an LLC or a corporation, right, or whatever it is, or a nonprofit for that matter,
right,
later in the game. So we can do that. So don't feel like, that should slow down the process, right? I need the LLC or something first. No, you don't. And we can actually assign it to the entity down the road, and that's something we do all the time.
Excellent. So in terms, we have another question. What's meant by first date of use and first date of commercial use? How do you differentiate that?
Well, first date of use could be just when a person came up with the idea, right? And then the first date of commercial use would have to be more along the lines of when they post it on a website or social media, and really some kind of timestamp there to be able to show commercial use.
Okay, all right, excellent.
Right,
excellent.
and that could actually be on, Amazon as well, or we have different situations, right, where some people sell on their Facebook page, some people sell on Instagram, right? And so it just really depends. It's a very versatile e-commerce global, marketplace anymore.
Right. Exactly. So another question we had here is, as far as people who sell on Airbnb, who may not really use the websites per se, but more print, if anything, how does that work for them, or if there's a difference at all?
Mm-hmm. Well, according to the USPTO, sometimes they do also accept marketing materials. If a person would send out marketing materials to somebody, like a PDF or a brochure or a flyer, sometimes that's also something that can be used. I mean, that's why it's sometimes good, however, to be able to post it somewhere, whether it be on their own Facebook page or wherever, to be able to get that timestamp. But we do submit flyers and marketing materials for the customer to show commercial use.
Okay.
And sometimes they can be a bit more challenging, right? As an example of Airbnb, I imagine that they're going to have that listed somewhere, though, whether it be on Airbnb's website, or
or their own
some kind of promotion, right? Somewhere.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people do a lot of Airbnb marketing using the Google or social media, for instance. A lot of Instagram Airbnb people are on Instagram kind of posting, so that's good
huge,
to also
right?
get yourself there. Right, exactly. It's really huge there on Instagram. So I think that's another place that I think people can kind of hone in on and make sure that you're connected.
Instagram works. It's something that's common that a lot of people do utilize, and that might be the only place that they can show commercial use, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
What would be a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's coming up with a name or a logo, even just kind of getting started, but heard the word trademark and got a little fearful of, kind of tapping into that, going that direction?
Well, that's getting a little bit into, I cannot give legal advice, but what I would say in a general sense is that a person can come up with a name, and as I mentioned in the search, it can be altered or modified before we do that filing. So I think that what you're getting at is really a good point. However, is that a fear of loss? What if I have nothing to work with? Here at the trademark company, we want somebody to have a trademark or a brand to work with. So we're flexible. We want somebody to win and succeed. So we're not here to nickel and dime people. That's not our mantra, right? That's not what we're all about. We want people to be able to succeed. And so I think that we really want a long-term business relationship, just like, we'll hopefully have with you as well. And I'm sure we will, Jamila.
Yeah.
And we want to be long-term partners and success. And so, that, I have a guy or a gal that can help me, right? And with this. So, you always feel like you have another team player in building your brand, and that's what we're really all about. So we're here to, every situation is a bit unique. I would say a person that's a bit apprehensive, just, it's important not just to sit on it, right? You need to move on it and to get started and go with your intuition, go with your passion, follow your bliss, right? And so that's certainly something that we can help people with, and if we need to modify it, so be it. I mean, that's what life's all about, right? So we can help them with that before we can actually get the filing done for them. So I think that's a great benefit. I don't think a lot of companies let people change it up very much before the filing, and with charging them extra money. So I mean, if that's what they want to do, we're able to do that for them.
There's definitely flexibility. Awesome. So I'm looking through some questions here. Here's a good one. What would you? So you're reading these questions here and they'll leave some words out. But what would you say is the best option now for a lot of people? And I don't know if this is kind of legal or not, but going into NFTs and crypto now, like how does that look? Or what are we looking at when it comes down to, going into that world and all the digital stuff now?
Oh yeah, we definitely help people in that space. Crypto's big, NFT, and whether it be for security purposes, right, or crypto itself, we certainly can help people in that way. And, and a person, I guess, all these great questions actually inspire me to come up with some other valuable information for the listeners here, is that a person doesn't have to be in use in order to file, right? It's sometimes better to even, file it before you're actually in use, if you come up with that name, if it's that important to you to be able to do so. And probably 50% of our customers are in use and 50% are not. So I also want to make that known, that you don't have to be in use before you file your trademark.
Awesome. Now, this person came back with another question as far as NFTs are concerned. And I know, from what I know about NFTs, it's they're kind of protected within where they're built. But would it be required to do a trademark on the creation of the characters that they're creating for NFTs as well?
Yeah, and I think that, to be honest and fair to the person asking the question, I think that this is the kind of person that needs individualized attention. And I'm just saying that with all due respect, that individual would talk to, call you, and we could set up an appointment and, go from there as well. But, there are possibilities for us to copyright versus trademark in this case. So, and not only would it make it more economically feasible for the person to do that, because a trademark is more, let's face it, a lot more expensive than a copyright. So we can actually discuss those possibilities with that individual.
Awesome. And we'll definitely be doing a copyright podcast as well, because I think we're getting a lot of questions on copyrights. And so I just want to put it out there. We will be back with a copyright podcast soon, so you guys can get your questions answered as well. Actually, look, we kind of went through this really quickly, and this is awesome. I think we covered most of the questions here. Brian, if you want to share some of the other things that would go with some of the, the trademark services, some of the process that, people can kind of expect, I think that would kind of, help with them choosing, which direction to go when it comes down to rebuttals. I know a lot of people don't really understand. They kind of look at it like it's an LLC. When they file for a business, I usually don't contact them anymore. It's not very often that they say, hey, we're going to send this back and we need additional assistance or additional information. And I know trademarks differ. Could you just give us a little more information about, how that would be more of a challenge and why it's good to continue to work, with us or, in that manner?
Sure. So I think that, and please come back if I'm not addressing it entirely, but what I think I hear you saying is that if a person applies for the LLC, they just get started without thinking too much about the trademarks, and you spend a lot of time, energy, and money building a brand. And let's say that a person actually was doing very well after a couple of years, and then they all of a sudden, out of the blue, they get a cease and desist letter. That means the person has to start all over again, and then that brand name recognition just goes out the window, right? Or you've actually built another person's brand if you're in the same space. You've done the work for that person. That doesn't feel very good. So that I think that a person needs to explore all of these things sooner than later, and not put it on the back burner. I just think it's really important overall, for people to take a look at these things right from the start. And as I mentioned, I mean, a person can file for the LLC or business formation at any point, but a person may want to actually explore if that's a business name that they can set themselves apart with nationwide. Right. If that's their market, right? They have to analyze kind of what their market is, where they're going to be, where do they want to focus their efforts and build a book of business or build their business overall. Is it going to be national? Is it going to be regional? Is it going to be, worldwide? those are the questions they need to ask themselves. And just on another note, we can actually help people file internationally as well.
Oh, wow.
Now that's a little bit, and that's a little bit different process. A lot of people do want to secure their U.S. trademark first, and we can peg that trademark application to the international filing also. And for, just to kind of not get into it too much, but,
right.
It would be done a la carte. Like if it were Canada, for example, a lot of people want to focus in on the English-speaking countries, right? Like the UK now is Brexit, right? So it would be separate from the EU. The Australia, Canada, for example. So we can file those individually. The EU is actually about 20 countries, and that would be more of a bargain, I suppose you could say, because it's one filing for all those countries. But that tends to be, a person sometimes thinks, well, let me just get an international trademark. That's not possible. You have to do it generally one by one, with the exception of the EU in this case, right? So but we can help them. We can help them build their brand globally as well.
Okay, so one last question with that one. When building your brand internationally and filing trademarks internationally, does that change the time that it takes when filing? And I'm guessing what they're asking is, does it change the process time, but for them to actually get there?
Right.
No.
Right. Well, not necessarily. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily slow down the U.S. application or prevent them from getting started, I guess, is what they're perhaps asking. I don't know.
Yeah. It looks like that.
I mean, I would say that it wouldn't necessarily, if they get their U.S. application in and they can start showing commercial use, I mean, and then we file the international application, it wouldn't really, it
change the time.
It wouldn't adversely affect it. Yeah. I imagine they would be able to start showing use regardless. Yeah. And that wouldn't throw a monkey wrench into the mix, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the worry when we talk international. I think people want to do it, but they don't want to stop from, that U.S. application from going. We all know it takes time anyway. So, yeah, it wouldn't stop you guys. Right. You should be fine. Brian, is there anything else that you want to share? I mean, as far as services are, concerned, just to kind of put out there while we have listeners there tuned in. I mean, they'll be able to reach out to me and my company, and we'll be able to set something up with you guys. But what other services would you say, aside from trademark, because we're going to come back on and talk about many of them, but what would you say? I know we have copyrights next. That's coming, you guys. So what would you say, what else could we, lean on you for?
Well, so before we get into that, just to kind of tie it up and since, in a neat little bow here. So apart from our website, we actually have a special package called the Enterprise, which, Jamila's got and certainly, well-versed on as well. We created that because, a person doesn't necessarily have to, then they know that they're covered. They've got everything that they'll need from start to finish, right? Because it's hard to say what could happen down the road once they get their application in. They could require some additional information, and that could be an office action response, which they'll have 6 months to respond to. And that could be, as I mentioned, a little bit minor, procedural, or substantive, a little bit more complicated. So we can help them with that. That all-in-one package would include all of those things, or to file the statement of use. If they're not in commercial use, we can establish that later, right, to be able to show, or file an extension. If they need a 6-month extension, we can also file that for them.
Excellent.
So that Enterprise package is really neat because it's not on our website, but it's something I created for this type of purpose, for us to be able to help people in the best way possible, so that they know that they don't have to worry about it. It's all covered, right? And everything is in that way. So I think to also dovetail on what you asked, we do provisional patents. And
awesome.
I know that we don't have a lot of time to discuss that, but we do. So provisional patents, just in a nutshell, is something that holds and protects their idea for a year. And it's not a full-fledged patent, which if they want to get a full-fledged patent, we would refer them out to an IP attorney, which we can do. But, this is a cost-effective alternative to getting a full-fledged patent while they're doing market research or perhaps looking for investors, like in Shark Tank or some
right.
something like that. Yeah. And so, that's what people do. And it's not thousands and thousands of dollars. A provisional patent is very affordable. And we can help people with that as well. So again, that's important, I think, to some people's brain. If they have something unique enough to patent, we can do a provisional patent application for people as well.
Excellent. And I think that's a lot of what we run into, people not understanding the difference between provisional packaging, a patent as well, and then a trademark. A lot of times when people, they're coming to me, they're getting started and they're like, I want to get this trademark, but they don't know if it should be trademark, copywritten, or, patent.
Right.
So I know we have about 15 minutes or so. So if it's not a burden, could you kind of define the difference between the three, just kind of some brief examples?
Okay. So provisional patent perhaps may be something for, let's give a generic example that perhaps everybody's thought about. If a person lost their TV remote and they came up with a perhaps like a location device for it,
right.
and the old, TV remote finder. So that would be, if they had something unique, obviously, that may be something that would be a candidate for a provisional patent. So, some kind of, and they would need drawings or that sort of, or a description as well, right? So generally that's something that's more concrete as opposed to a service, right? So the copyright would be really for more of a logo and not a word. So if a person wanted to protect, or I guess, but let me rephrase that a little bit. So if a person had a song, we could help them copyright the song. They could also do a logo if that's the face, of the company as well, but it wouldn't protect it. The limiting factor is it wouldn't protect it in a certain space of goods and services. So that's why most people go with the trademark, and that's where the trademark, offers a little bit more protection in the goods and services space, right? Whichever space that may be for them.
Absolutely. Well, that was a big question. I think we got a lot of thumbs up on that one. I think that's a big challenge for people understanding if they should go with the trademark or the copyright. And you can definitely give us a call, because what I don't know, I have Brian, and he will make sure that we get the right answer, direction to go with that. Brian, is there anything else you want to share? Because I am going to share my information with everyone, if you don't already know me, and how you can get in touch with me to, contact Brian or start with myself as well.
Absolutely. So I think that, what we're looking at here is that, so if most people do want to either have their own website and eventually sell on Amazon, that's why trademarks are so needed anymore. I don't know. I've heard of the new Walmart marketplace as well. I imagine that they may also require a trademark down the road, and I know that they want to compete with the Amazons of the world. Not the Amazons of the world, but the Amazon itself. But that's probably also another requirement there. So that's something that we can help people with, and for artists, a copyright would be something that we could, if they have a catalog of songs, I think that we're also a very friendly company in terms of we'll work them out a discount if it's a bunch of different things that they want to do, right? I mean, we certainly believe in loyalty business and be able to work something out for them that way.
Excellent. Now, one last question. So another question came in regards to the trademark and submitting it for on an e-com site. It looks like they want to know what would they show to prove that they have, that they've already filed or that they have, that in process, aside from, I guess, the number. But I guess they're asking, they're not sure what Amazon or any of these e-com sites would ask for. So can you tell us what they ask for and what we would show in that manner?
I really am not well versed in as far as Amazon policies because they're constantly changing and in flux. I don't know their latest policies, so that's something I can't speak to. Mm-hmm. But I do know that they need a trademark if a person wants a storefront, right, with Amazon. I think a person might be able to sell a product without having a storefront, but right. I believe that that's perhaps not the end goal. I mean, I imagine that e-commerce, you want to have some kind of storefront as well.
Right.
So that's constantly changing. It's just really a ever-changing landscape with Amazon. So I can't necessarily speak to what they require.
Right.
But I do know that, our services are very much needed in terms of what they're asking for a storefront.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. And of course, you guys, if you have any questions on that, Brian and myself, we're always available to be able to sit down with you. You always go through me, and I'll help you to research as best as possible, and Brian as my resource to make sure that we're getting the best information for you to answer your question and provide, any information that you need on that. So, Brian, before we did it really good. I mean, we really hit the numbers here on time. So awesome. Kudos to you. If anyone is interested in getting started with a trademark, you have questions about a trademark, anything related to trademark, copyright, provisional patents, of course, you can contact me directly at my office, which is My Biz Consulting. I can be reached at 215-443. I just forgot my own number. What's our number, Khadija? I have to ask you. That's horrible. Khadija. You don't
call yourself Jamila.
I don't call myself at all. It's so crazy. I have 5 numbers in front of me just in my own defense here for the radio station. I don't want to give people that number. So the number to contact me is 215-443-1076. Okay, I had a brain stunt real quick. But you can contact me directly. You can email me. You can visit our website at www.mybizconsulting.net. Book an appointment. I will get right back to you and set up some time. We can go over everything. I can take your questions. Again, I have resources to reach out to. I can always reach out to Brian to confirm information or questions that you may have. So feel free to give me a call anytime. Shoot me an email. Shoot me, book an appointment, whatever you need there. And with that being said, Brian, do you have anything else to add before we go?
No, I would just, obviously, let them know how they can get in touch with you, and we'll be happy to go over things. And we do understand, that everybody's situation is a bit unique, and we certainly want to tailor it, to the, to their particular needs. So their business is important to them. It's important to us, and we want them to be able to know that and feel that. So and they will. So I think that really we appreciate the opportunity to be able to help your customers, and for us to be able to build some great brands. I kind of came up with the slogan myself that we don't necessarily use on our website, but building tomorrow's brands today, right? And so we're building strong brands, and you got to start somewhere, right? I mean, look at the Apples and the Amazon started in their own garages, right?
Yeah.
So it's great to be able to. I think what I love about my job the most is that we're talking with entrepreneurs early in the game where they're excited and they're passionate about it, and it's what they, eat, sleep, and think about all times of the day, and that's exciting. That's exciting to be able to help them with their baby. And so
and that's super exciting, and so much so here at My Biz Consulting, one of the things we do is we celebrate once we present you with your new LLC, or we get your trademark in. We're going to celebrate you. We're going to have a cake. I usually do cake or donuts to get you fat with me, but we try to celebrate you and let you know that this is a lot of times I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, new business startups, they're not getting the support from their immediate circle sometimes, and they need that feeling that this is exciting, you're accomplishing something, you're going to the next step. So we are here to definitely make sure that you feel that way when you're working with us, because we become a family, you become a part of our family, and our extended family. So, it's about excitement. This is an exciting time for a lot of small businesses all around the world. And we try to make sure that we're providing any and everything that you need. I do a lot of research and post it on my website, from anything from, getting started on your LLC, your trademark, your, step by step. If you look through my tabs on mybizconsulting.net, you'll be able to see everything that you need to kind of successfully get started. So feel free definitely to give us a call, book an appointment. It costs nothing for our free consultation, which is 20 minutes. You can kind of give me a call, ask me anything that you want for that 20 minutes, no charge, and we can kind of get you rolling and get you in the right direction.
Right.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, and we don't charge by the hour or bill by the hour either, since we're a filing firm. So yeah, we certainly like to answer everybody's questions and make sure that they understand the process. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and we certainly can appreciate that people want to be hands-on, but we have a lot of experience, and just leave it up to us to be able to help you protect your brands.
Excellent. Well, on that note, Brian, thank you so much for joining us here in the Streets Radio, where we broadcast. This is My Biz TV. I am Jamila Laurie. We have Brian Wood on the line. He is our trademark consultant. He's the senior trademark consultant, and he is amazing. Brian, it was a pleasure having you on today. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. We do appreciate your questions, comments, and hopefully your phone calls that are coming. So, Brian, I'll talk to you on the flip side. I'm going to go ahead and shut everything down on this end. I want to thank everybody again for tuning in, and we'll see you when we post more about copyrights. Copyrights is next, you guys. It's the biggest requested. We will be doing something on copyrights to kind of give you guys more information, more details on that, and hopefully Brian will join me again for Provisional Patents. Why not? Right, Brian?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
Excellent. So I'm going to let you go. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Brian, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Valuable information. I hope everyone that tuned really got a lot out of this. Again, if you have questions on the back end, you can give us a call, 215-443-1076. Yes, I know my number now. All right, you guys, you have a wonderful day, and we will see you on.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.